Good Wednesday morning. Thank you for joining us on Kare 11 News Now. I'm Jason Hackett. Let's get to your headlines. New developments overnight on the Hantavirus outbreak. French health officials say a woman is critically ill after testing positive for the virus. We're also tracking a potential case right here in Minnesota. Megan McPherson's in the newsroom with the very latest.
So we learned about 12 hours ago that a person who lives here in Minnesota was briefly exposed to someone who was aboard the hantavirus-stricken cruise ship. The good news, though, they have not shown symptoms or tested positive and will continue to be monitored by Minnesota health officials. Overnight, new details emerging internationally as health officials work to contain this virus. Doctors in Paris saying a French woman infected during the cruise is now critically ill and being treated with an artificial lung. Spanish officials also confirming another passenger is now in quarantine at a military hospital, raising the outbreak total to 11 cases. Dr. Kare, a Johns Hopkins University professor with a background in virology, tells Kare 11 that this outbreak should not be compared to COVID-19.
This virus is not as infectious as COVID-19, and I think that the risk to the average person is extremely low, just because the only people that have gotten and tested positive for it so far are those people that have actually been on the cruise.
And this is the full announcement from the Minnesota Department of Health. It did not give any details about where in the state this person lives, but the department emphasizes the risk to the public remains very low. So good news there. And the 16 Americans who returned from the ship Monday will remain at the National Quarantine Center in Omaha for several more days. So far, 122 passengers have been exposed to the virus, with 3 deaths linked to the outbreak. Back to you.
Megan, thank you. Happening later today, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey will sign a gun control ordinance banning assault weapons and ghost guns. The city council approved the measure last week. Right now, it's not clear how the city would enforce the ordinance since state law outweighs local rules. The city says it's one of the strongest local gun safety packages passed in the last few years. Well, this morning, 2 men are facing criminal charges after allegedly stealing nearly $400,000 in silver bars from a home in Eagan. Court documents say one of the men lived with the victims and knew they kept precious metals there. Police used surveillance video and serial numbers to track the silver to a casino in Mille Lacs. They also found scrap metal and a pot to melt the silver at one of the men's homes. A business owner who bought one of the bars says each one can cost about $8,000.
I suppose it's part of the deal of being in this business, right? I bought it. Obviously, I had no idea anything was wrong with it. There was no red flags with Chris when he came in.
Police say most of the silver has not been recovered. In just hours, the Anoka-Hennepin School Board will hold its first round of semifinalist interviews for their next superintendent. We know this morning there are 10 applicants, 2 of them from Minnesota. The school board is expected to announce the finalists this Friday before making the final decision later this month. President Trump will land in Beijing this morning, having last visited in office during his first term nearly a decade ago. Tariffs and Taiwan will be key topics, but could be overshadowed by the war with Iran. All as President Trump faces economic headwinds, with a new report showing the highest inflation in 3 years. NBC's Alice Barr has the very latest from Washington.
Hi there. In some mixed messages, President Trump first said he and President Xi will have a long talk about the war with Iran, then said Iran is under control and he wants to focus on other things. Top CEOs are along for the trip, underscoring the push to bring more American business into China. President Trump arriving in China this morning for a closely watched summit with President Xi Jinping.
He's a friend of mine, and we're going to have a great meeting. We do a lot of business with China.
Trade between the world's 2 largest economies will be at the forefront, and so will the war with Iran. China is Tehran's most powerful ally and biggest consumer of Iranian oil. That leverage could be key in pressuring Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and end the war, though President Trump publicly downplayed the need for Xi to intervene.
I don't think we need any help with Iran. We'll win it one way or the other. We'll win it peacefully or otherwise.
As the president looks to emphasize stability with China and his relationship with Xi, some allies on Capitol Hill urging a tougher stance.
Realize that the person you're talking to is propping up Russia and Iran.
And the meeting comes amid new signs of trouble for the U.S. economy, with inflation hitting 3.8%, the highest level in 3 years, now outpacing wage growth. Energy costs are driving the surge, with gas prices up 50% since the war started.
My entire tank is my entire check now.
Taking a toll on small businesses that rely on deliveries.
Things could not be going worse right now.
President Trump asked if the impact on Americans' finances motivates him to make a deal with Iran.
The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about American financial situation. I don't think about anybody.
The White House adding that the president's top responsibility is American safety and security. Detailed discussions are set to begin tomorrow, with an emphasis on stabilizing a tariff truce, though aides said there's no comprehensive trade deal on the agenda. Other thorny topics include competition over technology, Taiwan, and Chinese restrictions on freedom. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
New video this morning showing the heroic moment police saved several people from a burning building in central Minnesota. The fire started late Monday night in Sauk Center, about an hour and a half northwest of the metro. Those flames igniting in the heart of the town, right on Main Street. So take a look at this video. You can see a police car pulling up to that building, flames shooting from the roof. You see it right there on the right. Then there's an explosion. Officers immediately started evacuating the building. No one was injured, but 2 cats did die in that fire. 3 businesses downstairs were also damaged. One couple escaped with their 6-week-old baby.
I heard cracking and I didn't realize what it was, so I got up to see what our cats were getting into, and I saw the window lit up in flames, and I watched the window explode into the apartment.
Officials say they believe the fire started on the roof. Right now, the cause is still under investigation. An update now, the St. Paul Fire Department is investigating a house fire that killed 3 pets, which they believe was started by lithium-ion batteries. Fire crews say the flame started in a bedroom before quickly spreading through the home in the Payne-Phelan neighborhood. The homeowner says the lithium-ion battery from an electric unicycle was the cause of the fire.
They are dangerous and they're a hazard because they don't go out easy. Simply putting water on those devices to put them out does not work. We either have to pack them or they need to burn themselves out.
Since the start of the year, the department has had 5 fires related to those batteries, 14 since the start of 2025. Now, if you have these batteries, fire officials advise keeping an eye on them and make sure they're not cheap quality. That could lead to issues down the road. They also recommend you stop using them when damaged or warm and to never charge them in your bedroom. Let's turn now to 2 big playoff losses for our Minnesota teams, unfortunately. 2-time defending Walter Cup champions, the Frost, they were eliminated by Montreal in the semifinals last night. And then on the hardwood, the Wolves on the brink of elimination after a huge loss to the Spurs in Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals. So that brings us to tonight with the Wild in a must-win game in Colorado. Needless to say, the next few days will be pretty high stakes for Minnesota sports fans. Audrey Russo's in Minneapolis with the details.
Yeah, Minnesota, today is the day to make good use of your nail clippers because the next couple days are going to be a nail biter here as far as Minnesota sports are concerned. Now, the Timberwolves are making their way back here at home to the Target Center for a Friday night matchup against the San Antonio Spurs. This is going to be their last chance to stay in the playoffs after last night dealt the Timbies a double-digit loss. But before we can even really get to the Timberwolves, we have to talk about the Minnesota Wild. They're playing tonight. They're on the road in Colorado against the Avalanche, and they are near elimination after this loss on Sunday that you're watching right now. The Wild are going into this matchup at 7 p.m. down 2 in the series. This is, though, the farthest they've made it in the Stanley Cup playoffs since 2015. Now, back out here in Minneapolis, you know, the Timberwolves are going to be playing at 8:30 on Friday night. We know the downtown atmosphere is going to be electric. I did take a look at ticket prices. They are about $89 for the cheapest seats for Friday's matchup. It's sure to be a good one no matter what.
All right, let's go Wild. Hopefully they can get the job done here. Stick with us. More news and weather right after the break.